Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Krashy, and today I want to give a bit of information about the objectives and a little bit of a discussion on how to macro play surrounding the objectives, as well as just talking about, what they are, what they do, and why they are so important. So I've kind of already done that a little bit, so I'm not going to dive too much into that, but let's go ahead and take a look at this blank map, and we're going to get into a little bit of schooling. So first and foremost, we know that this is Fangtooth, and then right here, we know that this is a mini prime and orb prime. So the name of the game is controlling Fangtooths. When you get 3 Fangtooths, you get 6% stats to your magic armor, physical armor, magic damage, physical damage, and that's when the game just starts to snowball out of control. So honestly, a lot of the time the game is decided by the team that gets the first Fangtooth 3, and that means 3 Fangtooths for their team. And that can take a lot more time depending on how contested it is, but this is why you need to be absolutely contesting it, because it is very important. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about how to set up on these objectives and what it looks like. So whenever these objectives are on a respawn, so say they're coming back up, you know how you get the little circle that comes around it? Well, this respawn is 5 minutes, so you can kind of start to learn the timer of it. It's roughly like, quarter circles that make up about a minute 20. And so, when you see the timer that looks like this, whenever it's like, mostly ringing around it, you got about a minute 10, minute 20, somewhere in there. Or, and what I'm starting to do now more of is when it's taken, as soon as Fangtooth, like say Fangtooth 1 is taken at, 12:30. Well, then now I know, 17:30, add 5 minutes to it. Now I don't know if I remember the timers for primes as much, and honestly, they're not really as important. You can just kind of eyeball that one, and I'll learn it more over time. But learning the time of prime, very important. So understanding the time, look at that beautiful handwriting. So really, really important to understand it, but also to be able to read the little circle. If it gets about here, you got about 2.5 minutes until it comes up, so get really familiar with the little circle respawn timer. Hopefully, maybe we'll get a timer on the actual map, but for now, this is how we have to do it. But how do you want to set up for this? So when Fangtooths are coming up, first and foremost, if it's the first Fangtooth, I think that solo lane should mostly stay solo lane. If they're dominating their lane, they can rotate over. That's perfectly fine. But honestly, you don't really want them to lose a ton of farm and waste their time. And the first Fangtooth is kind of just dependent on how like mid, jungle, and off lane is, or duo lane is rather. So just kind of depends on how they're doing. But jungle, if this is up, you can maybe be over here farming your level 6, so that way you can get ready to go to it, but your team needs to drop a ward on it. If there's no ward on it, you need to be making your way over there. Now, at this jungle section of the game, like for the first one, it's around your level 4 whenever it's up. Maybe you're pushing 5 or 6, or you're pushing for it. In this section of jungle, you can either already have your sentries and be de-warding for ganks and things of that nature, or you can still have wards. I'm kind of experimenting with keeping wards during this section, so I can also keep this warded, so I can come back in and get my level 6, right? I don't really like trying to full rip this before level 6 anymore. I think that it's just way too risky, and high level players are just not going to let that happen. So really, really important to think about. But the name of the game is just keeping this warded until y'all are ready to go for it. So now, we recognize that we're ready to go for the first Fangtooth or for a Fangtooth. How do you set up for it? Well, you never want to be too split, right? If you're too split, this person can get singled out, and then, they're going to get taken down. So you want to make sure that y'all are grouping up together. Or if you can, like if jungle can come and make a play, and the duo lane can make a play, knock out, 1 or 2 people, then boom, y'all go back in and you just get Fangtooth. So setting up for Fangtooth sometimes comes in the form of getting a pick and then going for Fangtooth. And sometimes Fangtooth just comes in the form of being in this like general vicinity and having the enemies kind of like encroaching inward, looking for opportunities, and then you have control here so you can fight them, or you can rip it if you're fast enough. So something important to think about. Now, another big portion of setup, and this is probably the main reason why I wanted to make it, is knowing where to ward. I think it's really important to ward your main entrances right here, right here, right here, or if y'all have really good setup, then you can even do like deep wards, because like say it's later in the game and y'all have already been kind of dominating, and the same thing goes for orb prime, and I want to show this off as well. These deep ward spots, they really give you a lot of information to where if the enemies are coming in this way, you're going to know that, and you're going to either be able to posture and look to fight them here, or you're going to know if, you know, they have a person here, you know, like one person over here split pushing the duo lane, then y'all can just go on ahead and rip it. So really, really important to think about these deep wards. And again, I think that some of these deep ward spots, like right here where you can cover, you know, you're covering this entrance, but you're also covering the jungle entrance. This is like up on the ledge right next to the camp. These are really, really good ward spots that you can see a lot of the entrances. And then if they're coming in back here, or if they're coming in over here, you probably already know that because y'all are going to be set up on it. So really, really important to think about. Now, again, I'm kind of just doing this because I think that the player base is still learning the game and the importance of Fangtooth. This is the game. Like, this is absolutely the game. Now, Orb Prime, whenever you have Fangtooth controls, say you have 3 or 4 Fangtooths already, you've just been like completely dominating, then you want to start taking Orb Primes so y'all can, you know, start pushing up, you know, split pushing a couple lanes and then going for inhibs. Then you get some kills and then boom, core goes down. So that's how you close out the game. Orb Prime is how you close out the game. And Mini Prime is honestly pretty inconsequential. Like, you can get it for the jungler, you can get it for the off lane and have a little bit extra damage and have a little bit of lane pressure, but it's really not super important. The name of the game is 3+ fangs. Like, that's what you want. You get 3 fangs and you're going to be doing tons of damage. Now, if you don't know what Fangtooth does, definitely check out my video. I'll probably link in the description that goes over everything that Fangtooth does, but it's essentially just stacking percentage buffs. Like I said, 6% stats, and then it just becomes additive on top of that, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So you're just doing crazy, crazy damage. So yeah, this is pretty much what I had to show y'all today. I wanted to talk about really good ward placement. I think dumping a ward deep back here or directly on the blue, dumping a ward deep back here, dumping a ward on this ledge right here, on this main entrance, these kind of ward positions are really, really good when you already have position if the enemy team has been pushed back a little bit. If it's some of the early, like really, really early Fangtooths, keeping one ward here is critical. Like, just keeping one ward here, so that way your team can, y'all can, you know, the duo lane can duo lane, the mid can mid, and the jungle can be anywhere in here trying to get their level 6. And that's kind of what I'm been working on myself. I don't really like going for Fangtooth pre-level 6 unless we get a big pick. Now, if I'm level 4, level 5, and we knock out, you know, maybe I go for a counter gank and we knock out the jungle and the duo lane, then boom, we just go take it level 4, right? Level 4, level 5. No problem. That's definitely acceptable. But other than that, if you don't find that scenario where you get a bunch of picks and it's for free, then you want to be ready for that fight. And jungle getting level 6 is pretty important depending on the jungler that you are. And I think that doesn't really matter, to be honest. You just want that level 6. So friends, let me know your thoughts in terms of setup. Like I said, this jungle, like these little ward placements, man, you get so much vision and so much control. And if they're coming in, like, you don't have to rip it right away. But if you see that there's only like a couple of them here, maybe there's 2 people here, you got one person dealing with the lane that's pushing their tower, and then, you know, you got one person that's hard splitting, you know, trying to go for an inhib or something, just rip it. Like, rip this really fast, kill it. You can base and, you know, defend your inhib, because this buff lasts a long time. I think it lasts like 3-4 minutes or something like that. The Orb Prime buff is going to last a really long time for your team. So now, make sure you get out with this. Really, really important. You know, people will get this, and then sometimes they'll base here. You know, you can do that if you really need to, but you might want to, you know, you might want to rotate out and then base first, because if they just collapse in after you're all really weak, then they might just kill a couple of y'all for free. Then you're on 50-second timers. Then you don't have your buff anymore. So really think about that. But again, the name of the game is Fangtooth. So please play for Fangtooths. I think on the second Fangtooth, I meant to bring this up earlier, on like the second, third Fangtooth, this is when you really want offlane pressure. It's like, okay, man, especially if you're doing really well in offlane, because if you're constantly like dominating your offlane, you don't really need to go back here, right? Like, you can get that pressure, and that's considered a trade, right? Because then we're going to be trying to like 4v5 potentially, or 4v4, and that could be bad. Now, here's the thing. If you're dominating and we're dominating, like, let's say this whole other side is dominating, right? Like, the mid laner's dominating, the jungler's dominating, and the duo lane is dominating, and you're the off lane, then you can just perma pressure. Because if you're perma pressuring, we're probably going to lock this down no matter what. So really important to think about. If it's a pretty neutral game, start rotating over from off lane. Really come to these Fangtooths. Make sure that we're locking them in, because when your back is against the wall and the enemy team has 2 Fangtooths, that next Fangtooth fight is critical. Whenever one of the two teams is contesting third Fangtooth, that is a big moment of every single game. So friends, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you're thinking about this kind of a macro guide. It's a lot to take in, but you know, the moral of the story is focus objectives, focus Fangtooths, get really comfortable with ward positions, and you know, knowing when to come over, you know, keeping the early ward, really early ward on this, so that way they don't have like a Chimera or a Kalari that just insta rips this, because it is possible. It's not preferable in my opinion to level 4 go for Fangtooth, but it is possible. So keep vision, be prepared, and win more games. So friends, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you are liking this video and subscribing for future Predecessor content. As always, be sure to be kind to one another, tell someone you love them, and I'll see you on the next video.